Chapter 7. The Levitating Saint. I saw Yogi remain in the air several feet above the ground last night at a group meeting. My friend, Upendra Mohan Chaudhuri, spoke impressively. I gave him an enthusiastic smile. Perhaps I can guess his name. Was it Bhaduri Mayasa of Upper Circular Road? Upendra nodded, a little crestfallen not to be a news-bearer. My inquisitiveness about saints were well known among my friends. They delighted in setting me on a fresh track. The yogi lived so close to my home that I often visited him. My words brought keen interest to Upendra's face, and I made a further confidence. I have seen him in remarkable feats. He was expertly mastered the various pranayamas of the ancient eightfold yoga outlined by Patanjali. Once Bhaduri Mayasa performed the Bhashrita pranayama before me with such amazing force that it seemed an actual storm had arisen in the room. Then he extinguished the thundering breath and remained motionless in a high state of superconsciousness. The aura of peace after the storm was vivid beyond forgetting. I heard that the saint never leaves his home. Upendra's tone was a trifle incredulous. Indeed, it is true. He has lived indoors for the past 20 years. He slightly relaxes his self-imposed rule at the times of our holy festivals, when he goes as far as his front sidewalk. The beggars gather there, because Saint Bhaduri is known for his tender heart. How does he remain in the air and defy the law of gravitation? A yogi's body loses its grossness after use of certain pranayamas. Then it will levitate or hop about like a leaping frog. Even saints who do not practice a formal yoga have been known to levitate during a state of intense devotion to God. I would like to know more of this sage. Do you attend his evening meetings? Upendra's eyes were sparkling with curiosity. Yes, I go often. I am vastly entertained by the wit of his wisdom. Occasionally my prolonged laughter mars the solemnity of his gatherings. The saint is not displeased, but his disciples look daggers. On my way home from school that afternoon, I passed Bhaduri Mayasa's cloister and decided on a visit. The yogi was inaccessible to the general public. A lone disciple, occupying the front floor, guarded his master's privacy. The student was something of a Maritant. He now inquired formally if I had an engagement. His guru put in an appearance just in time to save me from summary ejection. Let Mukunda come when he will, the sage's eyes twinkled. My rule of seclusion is not for my own comfort, but for that of others. Worldly people do not like the candor which shatters their delusion. Saints are not only rare but disconcerting. Even in Scripture they are often found embarrassing. I followed Bhaduri Mayasa to his austere quarters on the top floor, from which he seldom stirred. Masters often ignore the panorama of the world's ado, out of the focus still centered in the ages. The contemporaries of a sage are not alone those of the narrow present. Maharishi, you are the first yogi I have known who always stays indoors. God plants his saints sometimes in unexpected soil, lest we think we may reduce him to a rule. The sage locked his vibrant body into the lotus posture. In his 70s, he displayed no unpleasing signs of age or sedentary life. Stalwart and straight, he was ideal in every respect. His face was that of a rishi, as described in the ancient text. Noble-headed, abundantly bearded, he always sat firmly upright, his quiet eyes fixed on omnipresence. The saint and I entered the meditative state. After an hour his gentle voice roused me. You go often into the silence, but have you developed anubhava? He was reminding me to love God more than meditation. Do not mistake the technique for the goal. He offered me some mangoes. With the good-humored wit I found so delightful in his grave nature, he remarked, people in general are more fond of jala yoga, union with food, than with dhyana yoga, union with God. His yogic pun affected me uproariously. What a laugh you have! An affectionate gleam came into his gaze. His own face was always serious, yet touched with an ecstatic smile. His large lotus eyes held a hidden divine laughter. Those letters come from far-off America. The sage indicated several thick envelopes on a table. I correspond with a few societies there whose members are interested in yoga. They are discovering India anew, with a better sense of direction than Columbus. I am glad to help them. The knowledge of yoga is free to all who will receive, like the ungarnishable daylight. What rishis perceived as essential for human salvation need not be diluted for the West. Alike in soul, though diverse in outer experience, neither west nor east will flourish if some form of disciplinary yoga be not practiced. The saint held me with his tranquil eyes. I did not realize that his speech was his veiled prophetic guidance. It is only now, as I write these words, that I understand the full meaning in the casual intimations he gave me that someday I would carry India's teaching to America. "Sir," I inquired, "why do you not write a book on yoga for the benefit of the world?" "I am training disciples," he replied. "They and their students will be living volumes, proof against the natural disintegration of time and the unnatural interpretation of the critics." "Maharishi, I wish you would write a book on yoga for the benefit of the world." "I am training disciples. They and their students will be living volumes, proof against the natural disintegration of time and the unnatural interpretations of the critics." Bhaduri's wit put me into another gale of laughter. I remained alone with the yogi until his disciples arrived in the evening. Bhaduri Mahasaya entered one of his illimitable discourses. Like a peaceful flood, he swept away the mental debris of his listeners, floating them Godward. His striking parables were expressed in a flawless Bengali. This evening, Bhaduri expounded various philosophical points connected with the life of Mirabai, a medieval Rajputani princess who abandoned her court to seek the company of sadhus. One great sannyasa refused to receive her because she was a woman. Her reply brought him humbly to her feet. "Tell the master," she said, "that I do not know there was any male in the universe save God. Are we all not females before him? A scriptural conception of the Lord as the only positive creative principle, his creation being not but a passive maya." Mirabai composed many ecstatic songs which are still treasured in India. I translate one of them here. "If by bathing daily God should be realized sooner, should I be a whale in the deep. If by eating roots and fruits he could be known gladly, would I choose the form of a goat. If the counting of rosaries uncovered him, I would say my prayers on mammoth beads. If bowing before stone images unveiled him, a flinty mountain I could humbly worship. If by drinking milk the Lord could be imbibed, many calves and children would know him. If abandoning one's wife would summon God, would not thousands be eunuchs? Mirabai knows that to find the Divine One, the only indispensable is love." Several students put rupees in Bhaduri's slippers which lay by his side as he sat in yoga posture. This respectful offering, customary in India, indicates that the disciple places his material goods at the Guru's feet. Grateful students are only the Lord in disguise, looking after his own. "Master, you are wonderful." A student taking his leave gazed ardently at the patriarchal sage. "You have renounced riches and comforts to seek God and teach us wisdom." It was well known that Bhaduri Mahasaya had forsaken great family wealth in his early childhood, when single-mindedly he entered the yogic path. "You are reversing the case." The saint's face held a mild rebuke. "I have left a few paltry rupees, a few petty pleasures, for the cosmic empire of endless bliss. How then have I denied myself anything? I know the joy of sharing the treasure. Is that a sacrifice? The short-sighted worldly folk are verily the real renunciates. They relinquish an unparalleled divine possession for a poor handful of earthly toys. I chuckled over this paradoxical view of renunciation, one which puts the cap of Croesus on any saintly beggar, whilst transforming all proud millionaires into unconscious martyrs. The divine order arranges our future more wisely than any insurance company. The Master's concluding words were the realized creed of his faith. The world is full of uneasy believers in an outward security. Their bitter thoughts are like scars on their foreheads. The one who gave us air and milk from our first breath knows how to provide day by day for his devotees. I continued my after-school pilgrimages to Saint's door. With silent zeal, he aided me to attain Anubhava. One day he moved to Ram Mohan Roy Road, away from the neighborhood of my Gorakhpur Road home. His loving disciples had built him a new hermitage, known as Nagendra Math. Although it throws me ahead of my story by a number of years, I will recount here the last words given to me by Bhaduri Mahasaya. Shortly before I embarked for the West, I sought him out and humbly knelt for his farewell blessing. "Son, go to America. Take the dignity of hoary India for your shield. Victory is written on your brow. The noble distant people will well receive you." End of chapter.